I'm Christy Bishop, and welcome to What Nobody Tells Us. Today's episode is one for the ladies. No, I'm joking. It's one for everybody. But if you are 40 or 40 plus, or even in your late 30s, and you're having some questions around hormones, you're having some questions around weight gain, you're having some questions about like what is going on that wasn't going on before, this episode aims to answer some of those questions as it relates to the importance of blood sugar, which is like a big whoa, like woohoo moment, mind blowing in terms of what blood sugar does and doesn't do for your body, why it's so critical in keeping you going, and really in particularly for metabolism and weight loss and hunger issues and keeping you balanced in every possible way from a hormone POV, but also kind of debunking the microbiome and the gut brain connection and really getting into the importance of all of these things. Because I can only speak for myself, but once I hit 40, I had heard that, oh, just kidding, your metabolism like leaves you. It's like, this has been fun. Have a good time. Bye. And I never believed that. And it turns out it really, really is the truth. And I was experiencing all sorts of perimenopause symptoms that I didn't know were perimenopause symptoms. And when I hit the beginning of 2023, January 1, I woke up and I was like, I got to do something different. So I found today's guest. Her name is Christina Palmisano. She is a delightful human. She's so knowledgeable about functional medicine and functional nutrition because she is a functional nutritionist. Christina works for a company called Being Functional Nutrition, which creates customized health programs for their clients, which is what I did for myself over the last 6 months. And they teach you and give you a lot of strategies on things like fighting inflammation in your body, balancing your blood sugar, which we'll talk a ton about today, restoring your gut health, which was a huge issue for me personally, and then also doing things like improving nutrient deficiencies in your body to figure out exactly what types of supplements you need instead of just guessing and saying, oh, I think I'm going to order some of these. These seem great. I've read about them online. Maybe I need these. You actually figure out what you do need and how much of it. Full disclosure, I've been working with Christina. I worked with her from January to June of this year to really help get my body back in balance. And she just enlightened me in so many ways, answered so many questions. And I literally feel like a new person after 6 months with her. So I hope that this helps to give you a bit of education on why we need to be focusing so much more on our blood sugar levels and not how many carbs we're eating, how much sugar we're avoiding. Do I need to just eat protein all of the time? Like I'm just trying to like starve myself, or I'm eating too much, I'm exercising all the time. No, stop doing that. It's about your blood sugar. It's about making your microbiome healthy again. And it's about the impact that will have on your brain, your mood, your memory, all of the things. So please enjoy this conversation with Christina. She is one of my favorite people, and I really think you're going to learn a lot. Hi, Christina. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to have this conversation.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I've given a little bit of background on our relationship and the work that we've done together, which has been magical. But tell me a little bit about your background. Just like, were you always interested in nutrition, diets, functional medicine, or was this kind of a departure from what you wanted to do?
So it's a great question, obviously, because I tease all the time that my background, my path is like twisted and turned, and it's far from straight. So I've had the passion and the interest in nutrition and wellness and healthy living, since maybe being a teenager. I did cross country in high school. I love to be physically active. Made the connection between eating better and feeling better pretty early on. But I actually pursued a degree in business. So I have my undergraduate degree in accounting. I got my MBA, and I actually am an inactive CPA. So I worked as a CPA for several years, and it was really in that like busyness of life, and realizing that I was committed to a career that was, for me, passionless. So I did some digging and diving kind of into myself and really realized what gets me excited was like grocery shopping and exercising and learning about health and well-being. And so through the power of networking, met a few people and got connected with this amazing dietitian who actually led me to be introduced to Bridget, who's the owner of Being Functional Nutrition, where I work today. And through those conversations and just kind of exploring, decided I kind of got that interest to really go back to school and start over. So I went back to school to essentially become a dietitian, which required going back to doing undergraduate courses and a bunch of sciences that I didn't do as a business major, and then completing ultimately my master's in nutrition from Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, and then leading to eventually my board certification in integrative and functional nutrition. But really long story short, I knew when it came back to committing myself to nutrition that I wanted to go the route of integrative and functional nutrition. That was something I knew pretty early on, and the route to get there wasn't as straight as I had hoped. It required a lot of checking the boxes, a lot of obviously education, science-based education, which I was obviously thrilled to learn, but it took me a while to ultimately get to the place that I am today, which is practicing an integrative and functional nutrition. So I believed in addressing the root cause a long time ago. It just took me a long time to learn more about that process, ultimately be able to help other people.
So I think people have probably heard the terms integrated and functional nutrition, but may not know exactly what they mean. And I've certainly heard them over the years. And I was even confused about what they were and how they were different from other types of medicine. So can you define them in layman's terms? What do integrated and functional nutrition actually mean to real people?
Yeah, so I mean, really simply put, it's getting to the root causes of symptoms, of disease, chronic conditions, with lifestyle modifications being a predominant intervention. So, in conventional medicine, when you have a symptom, you may be given a medication to address that symptom. In the integrative and functional, medicine and nutrition world, you dig in much deeper. Instead of just addressing the symptom and trying to cover it up, perhaps with like a band-aid of a medication, you're really looking into the root cause. Why are you having this symptom? What's going on in your diet? What's going on in your life from a stress standpoint, from other potential root causes, environmental standpoint? So it's really digging into the root cause and using food and lifestyle interventions to address your symptoms and improve your overall well-being versus just jumping right to medication. There's certainly a place for medication for so many, conditions and diseases and all of that. But it's, if you can remember from one of our first sessions, we talked about when there's a sick fish, what do you do? Do you medicate the fish or do you clean out the tank? So in integrative and functional nutrition, we clean the fish tank and see how the fish is doing after its environment has become much cleaner and healthier, and see if that fish can then thrive versus going right to a medication.
And it's such a simple but powerful metaphor. It made so much sense to me at the time. And for me personally, which you know very well, like I was very not anti-medicine, not at all, but I didn't want to just jump to a prescription for, mood issues. I mean, obviously I have higher levels of stress in my life due to my husband's cancer than most people, but it's all relative. But I didn't want to just jump on antidepressants or, a lot of hormone medications. I wanted to try to figure out what was actually going on instead of putting a band-aid on whatever, because then other things would continue to happen. Do you feel like when you start to work with people that they've tried many other things and then they stumbled upon integrated and functional nutrition? Or is this something that, or maybe it's a combination? Some people are like, I want to address the root cause or I want to get off medication. Like, kind of where are they in the process?
It's definitely a combination. I feel like we have clients who come to us after, trying everything.
Mhm.
And this is kind of like, well, this is my last chance, or maybe I'll try this route because, medicine hasn't worked or these other interventions haven't worked. But then we have other people who, just have a little bit more of a holistic approach kind of deep rooted within them and say, I want to promote health in my life. I want to prevent disease. So they kind of come to us before certain problems and symptoms and conditions set in. So
Mhm.
it's certainly a combination.
Yeah. It's funny. I thought I was healthier than most, or at least I thought my knowledge of nutrition and functional medicine was more than most, but I have learned so much from you. Um, do you feel like when people come, it's sad when you say that it's like a last resort, right? Like, but if they've tried every other thing, what are some of the issues that people come to you with that maybe like, this is a last resort? I don't know what to do. Can you help me?
Yeah, I would say people with autoimmune conditions is a big one. So they have just so many symptoms going on. Obviously, our bodies are so interconnected. So when you have an autoimmune condition, it's affecting your digestion, it's affecting your mood, it's affecting your joints, it's affecting your weight, your energy. So people come to us with really wanting to improve just about every symptom out there. It definitely varies from person to person. But I would say a big one is people come in, they want to have more energy, more vibrancy, more hope. A lot of people need help with mindset shifts, right? A lot of people forget the connection between our minds and our physical health too.
Yeah. What kind of mental states do you find when people first start to meet with you, and how do you see them evolve over time?
Again, it varies because a lot of people come in extremely hopeful, being like, I have a friend who did, your My Food is Health program or your VIP program, and they had all this amazing success from this symptom to that symptom. So a lot of people can come in with hope.
Hmm.
Whereas other people come in more hopeless, right? They come in and they've been depleted. Their energy is so low, their symptoms are so high, and they come in a little bit more hopeless and need a lot more of that, um, I don't know, mental health support too, and realizing that you are capable of change and that you are capable of becoming healthier and more in control of your life. So we definitely see a bunch of people come in with different kind of mindsets. But I would say that, leaving our programs, most people are much more on the same page than they are coming in.
What is some of like I know you have a customized approach to every client that you work with, which is one of the best things about you and about the Being Bridget program. But what is your approach as you start? Like when you have someone who's whether they're hopeful or hopeless, or they have a lot of knowledge or not a lot of knowledge, how do you start with them? And one of the things I will mention is you do such a beautiful job of not overwhelming people with information, to not bury the lead, but not do too many things at once. But what are some of the tacks that you use to start off?
Yeah, so I mean, regardless of who you are and your background is, we do so much information collecting from the start. So we want to know all about your health history, your medical history. I mean, we're asking questions as back as were you breastfed or were you bottle fed? Were you a C-section? Were you a vaginal birth? I mean, we go in really deep into your history because all this stuff adds up. We ask obviously a lot of questions. We ask about your lifestyle. We ask about food logs. What foods are you eating? What foods are you avoiding? What foods have you noticed at this point trigger you? We ask you to obviously start to look into this information as well. And additionally, based off of all these symptoms, we do this extensive symptom questionnaire where you really rate yourself on, how are you feeling as far as GI and digestion? What symptoms do you have related to neurological or emotions or joints? Are you happy with your weight? We ask a lot of questions about your mood and your willingness to make changes. So again, lots of information collecting. It doesn't matter how much you know or you don't know. We want to learn so much about you so that we can make the most personalized recommendations for you. And so obviously reviewing all that historical information and then getting to know you in the moment, we also make recommendations and like functional lab work. So being able to say, okay, you have these symptoms, related to XYZ. Let's run a functional lab test that looks into your nutrient deficiencies, that looks into potential gut imbalances, that looks into detoxification markers and your hormone health. So really the sky's the limit, but we personalize the entire approach. It does not matter what knowledge or what history you have coming into us. We still personalize everything we do to really what your body needs, what your goals are, and really where you're at, so we can get you to where you want to be.
Hmm. What misperceptions do you, I'm sure people come in thinking they know a lot or know little, but what misperceptions do people have about diet and metabolic health and the connection between, the gut and brain when they first come in?
So there's a lot. I mean, I would say from the topics of food,
Hmm.
a lot of people come in with a lot of like old diet history. So like, like all carbohydrates are bad and like fat is evil and fat makes you fat. So, there's a lot of nutrition education that we do, obviously educating people on the most recent science that supports the benefits of eating healthy fats versus, trying to limit inflammatory fats in your diet. Or, yes, we want to limit certain carbohydrates or eliminate certain carbohydrates in our diet, but not all carbohydrates are bad. And then I would say a lot of people come in with the mentality with, nutrition and lifestyle and exercise that more is more. That, if you started doing a 14-hour fast and you feel great, well, now I should do 16 hours, or now I should do 18 hours, or I should only be eating for 3 hours of the day because more fasting is better for me. So there's a lot of that mentality too, that, more biohacking or more exercise is always better. And
Yeah.
that's not always the case too. So it's going to obviously vary from person to person. Some of our clients do incredible with 16-hour fast, whereas other people need to cut out their fast entirely and limit it to that basic 12-hour fast to help
Mm-hmm.
reduce the stress load in their life. So lots of misperceptions, but at the same time, there's a lot of information and misinformation out there. And just because science supports, fasting, for example, all the wonderful health benefits of fasting, you have to remember to personalize it to you. You might not be in the position in your life when it comes to stress or chronic conditions or other things going on where longer fasts might not serve you. Or the opposite might be true. A longer fast might support your body to get to more optimal health sooner.
Mm-hmm. When we first started working together, there were two tests that you had me take, but one blew my mind, and I've recommended it to everyone, like with the support of a dietitian or functional medicine specialist. It was the Metabolics Plus test. And, I'm a little bit bearing the lead about blood sugar, which we'll get to in a second. But one of the things that absolutely blew my mind about it was not only is it 20 pages of just incredible specific detail about your body and what's going on inside, it finally gave me answers to questions that I couldn't answer myself. Like, for example, and with your support, it was like, you are, your gut has a higher level of yeast. I'm forgetting what it was. You might even remember. Higher level of yeast. Your omegas are through the floor. You have hardly any omegas. So, and it's not just like, take the supplement and, go on your way. It was, you need these types of supplements. You need this much, this often. You need to also supplement with these types of foods. And we need to balance your microbiome. The whole point is balancing your gut, so then it'll impact your brain. And for some reason, it just unlocked everything in me because I knew exactly what I needed. To your point about like, versus am I guessing about, oh, I'm going to do a 2-day fast and feel terrible? Or, I thought beets were the devil because there was so much sugar in beets, but I would have a piece of cake. Literally, and it's like, wait, what? The lies we tell ourselves about nutrition, about what's going on in our body. But when we think about the gut brain connection and the importance of blood sugar, do you find I'm not going to lead with all of your clients, but do you find in more instances than not that blood sugar and imbalance in the gut is a major culprit in their health issues?
Oh my God, for sure. So, really, when it comes to the topic of blood sugar impacts everything. It's really at the root of so many symptoms, so many health conditions. I mean, talk about energy, mood, sleep, autoimmune conditions, pregnancy, fertility, other hormone imbalances, even your cardiovascular, risk factors. You mentioned gut health, skin health. Obviously, our bodies are so interconnected. It's never just one issue. It's never just like, oh, well, balance your blood sugar and everything will be fixed. There's certainly going to be other things to work on too. But if
Mm-hmm.
there's a one place to truly start, it's going to be with balancing your blood sugar because it's just so interconnected to every other system in our body. So like insulin, which is, the hormone that's produced in your pancreas and controls your blood sugar. This hormone is so interconnected with other hormones in your bodies, with neurotransmitters in your, that control your brain. And all of that stuff is really fostered in our gut. So when your gut is out of whack, it could impact your blood sugar. When your blood sugar is out of whack, it can impact your gut health. So it's really this kind of goes back and forth between all these different systems. Same thing with cardiovascular health. I mean, when your cardiovascular health is out of whack, it could be because your blood sugar is in a constant state of imbalance, and then vice versa. Your cardiovascular health also impacts your blood sugar. So blood sugar is really one of the biggest places to start. it's really one of the first topics of conversation we have with our clients. Obviously, we collect a ton of information, and we do a lot of nutrition education, but a lot of that education is found, the foundation of it is how to promote eating in a way that supports your blood sugar balance. Because when you can support blood sugar, you can support all these other pathways in your body. You can support your mental well-being. You can support your cardiovascular health. You can support your mood and your energy and your hormones and really just about everything. So I feel like I'll say it so many times, but really blood sugar impacts everything, which is why it's one of the primary things we focus on in our practice is supporting people in ways to really impact stable blood sugar throughout the day.
So what does it mean if someone has a blood sugar that's like up, down, all around? Like what does that mean in layman's terms?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, your blood sugar should be tightly regulated. Our body is meant to respond. You eat carbohydrates. So, carbohydrates are going to be the food that, impact your blood sugar. It's going to put glucose into your blood. Your pancreas is going to respond by releasing insulin to help pull that glucose into your cells so that that sugar can be utilized. So, our body's in a state of, that homeostasis, always trying to get back to stability. And
Mhm.
so our diet and our lifestyle plays a huge role in our blood sugar throughout the day. So, when somebody eats an excessive amount of carbohydrates, specifically in the form of refined carbohydrates, so things like white flours and cake and cookies and breads, that's going to increase the amount of glucose in our blood. And it's going to have, your blood sugar, your body's going to respond with raising really, really quick. And then it's going to try to get back to that homeostasis, that balanced amount. So then it's going to drop really, really quick. So when you have that large glucose spike and then your
Mhm.
body's forced to try to return back to a state of normalcy, it can lead to brain fog and cravings, fatigue, specific GI symptoms, even bloating, hunger, inflammation across your whole body. Extreme blood sugar spikes are very inflammatory. So doing this over and over again can be so damaging to our bodies, down to the cellular level.
Wow. So, but then say, okay, because you mentioned carbohydrates. For someone who doesn't know, it's very easy for them to say, well, okay, Christina, I'm just going to cut out carbohydrates. Will that do it? Will that make everything better?
Temporarily it could. It will certainly help you in the short term, perhaps balance your blood sugar, but you have to think of the long term effects. So, carbohydrates, as I said before, not all carbohydrates are bad. Carbohydrates are actually some of the most wonderful foods for our body. So, obviously, there's those refined carbohydrates. So,
Mhm.
the white flours, the cake, all that added sugar. Those certainly don't do us justice. They're very inflammatory to our bodies. But there's a whole nother category of carbohydrates, whole food carbohydrates, legumes, fruit, whole grains, starchy vegetables, but most importantly, right? Not most importantly, they're all important, but non-starchy vegetables. So think of, spinach and arugula and peppers and tomatoes and cucumbers, all these colorful, phytonutrient rich foods are so rich in fiber. Fiber is key to our overall health, but it's certainly a key component when it comes to blood sugar balance. So eliminating, all of the carbs from your diet is also going to eliminate foods that do our body so well.
Mhm.
It will bring down your intake of non-starchy vegetables, although those are much lower in carbohydrates. But then there's that whole category of whole food carbohydrates, like I mentioned, legumes. So legumes are a great source of fiber and protein,
Mhm.
whole food carbohydrates, so many vitamins and minerals. These are key foods for your gut health. And remember, when your gut health is out of whack, everything else is going to be out of whack. So you could deplete your body from carbohydrates. You might do a better job in the short term of balancing your blood sugar, but then your gut health and your long term health, therefore, is compromised. So eliminating all carbs from your life is not necessarily beneficial, and it can actually be very stressful on your body. So when it comes to blood sugar balance, one thing that is always entertaining to people focusing on blood sugar is they said, well, I don't even eat carbohydrates. I don't eat beans. I don't eat grains. I don't eat any fruit, but my fasting blood sugar is extremely high. And that's because that's really stressful on your body to have no carbohydrate at all. It's a primary energy source for us. So to have no source of carb is very stressful. And when your body is under stress, it's going to release glucose naturally into your bloodstream, and it's going to cause higher fasting blood sugar. So the short answer is cutting out carbs may temporarily improve your blood sugar balance, Eliminating them is not the best choice. It's more so controlling them, choosing the more optimal sources, choosing the whole food carbohydrates that fuel our gut health, that fuel the other cells in our body, but also in eating them in a manner and an amount, quantity that supports stability throughout the day from a blood sugar standpoint.
That is so important. And it's such critical information that literally changes everything. And once you kind of unlocked that in my brain, and I didn't see food as certain foods as enemies, like the legumes and other things that have natural sugars in them, it was like freedom in such a weird way.
For
You
sure.
a really important thing like stress on the body. Another thing that you helped teach me so well, there was a time where I was doing like started for a new habit, which was doing like sauna, cold plunge. And one day I was like, this is amazing. And like 3 days later, I was like, sounds like the worst thing I could ever do. Forgetting the fact that the cold plunge is really just genuinely terrible, but wonderful. Can you talk about the different types of stress aside from food that could actually increase your blood sugar? Like, because I've also heard that really hardcore exercise can increase your blood sugar, but of course, exercise is good for you. So, can you chat a bit about that connection?
For sure. So there's lots of different stressors, and acute stress, so stress in the short term, is actually really beneficial for our body, right? It kind of trains our body to be in its best shape. So having some stress, controlled amount of stress in our life is really a good thing. So think of exercise, think of cold plunge, think of saunas. Um, those things are good stressors. Fasting is another great example. But when you have high level stress, say in just your family life at home or work stress, and then you're adding on all these additional stressors into your life, your body it comes into a state of chronic stress, and we want to avoid chronic stress. Chronic stress has such a negative impact on our overall health, but specifically on the topic of blood sugar balance, chronic stress leads to higher fasting blood sugar and higher blood sugar levels throughout the day. So you have to find this kind of, delicate balance of, I want to stress my body out in a healthy way. I want to do a cold plunge, a couple times a week when my baseline stress is manageable. But if I'm having a crazy week at work, crazy week at home, that might not be the best time to push your fast or to do the extra cold plunge or to go into the sauna. It's all about balancing the amount of stressors that we're exposing ourselves to for so many reasons, but specifically for blood sugar balance.
And it really does feel like your body talks to you and tells you what it's ready for and what it's not. So it's just like, as everyone always says, just listen to your body and it'll tell you.
For sure. Well, I get the question all the time, like, well, how long should I be fasting? And it's like, well, you have to figure out how long you should be fasting. Here's the research, but the
Mhm.
research might support long fasts, but that might not support what your personal needs are. So you have to explore. If a 14-hour fast leaves you feeling more energized and more controlled and more stable throughout the day, then that's the answer. But if you're pushing yourself to 14 hours and you have fatigue and you have, hunger cravings and all these other things, listen to your body. 14 hours at this stage of your life might not be the right answer.
And also for women too, just thinking because the majority of the listeners to this show are really like women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, and thinking about like where you are in your cycle. I know just around like intermittent fasting specifically, it did not work for me like in the last week right before my cycle would start.
Yeah,
It was so hard, so incredibly hard. And then I had to realize my body's preparing to go through something that is obviously stressful in my body. Why am I adding this additional stress to it and having the impact on my blood sugar? Because it left me feeling like ravenous and stressed out, and my moods were all over the place. It just wasn't the right thing at that time.
exactly. And more often than not, especially when counseling on the topic of blood sugar balance, we're making recommendations to decrease your fasting window if the population is that premenopausal woman. Decreasing the fasting window sometimes is an intervention that's needed in order
Mhm.
to decrease the level of stress in the body.
That's so
Not
interesting.
all, not all the time. Again, it's so
Yeah.
personalized,
Yeah.
but it happens a lot.
Yeah.
It's always entertaining when you're, counseling on blood sugar balance and you're telling them you actually need to add a little bit more whole food carbohydrate into your diet. You're
Right.
stressing your body out, or you need to actually fast less. And people are like, "What? I thought more fasting was better. I thought less carb was better." And it's not that that's not always the golden answer, but oftentimes it may be.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. It's like a warm hug to your body. You just don't realize how much it's needed because sometimes, again, like people see it as like the off limits food or the food is the enemy.
Right, right.
Thinking about that woman, obviously you're pregnant. You're due any moment. This
Yeah, let's not hope it's any moment, but yes, definitely. I'm 3 weeks out from the due date.
3 weeks out with baby number three. So exciting. You mentioned early on the impact of blood sugar on fertility, on pregnancy, but then also I think about the other end of the spectrum for women who are perimenopausal or premenopausal or just starting to go through menopause itself. What advice do you have, or what considerations for those types of women would you share around the importance of blood sugar?
Yeah, well, I mean, as I mentioned before, blood sugar balance and imbalances are just so tightly regulated with our sex hormones, with so many of our hormones. I mean, hormones that signal your satiety and your fullness, but also obviously our sex hormones too. So, the more you can balance your blood sugar, the better hold you're going to have on balancing your hormones, which is going to help reduce a lot of the symptoms that are associated with, premenopausal symptoms or postmenopausal symptoms. So really just doing your best to focus on eating optimal foods, high amounts of protein, high quality proteins like grass-fed beef, organic chicken and turkey, pasture-raised eggs, fish, tofu, edamame, all great sources of protein. Also focusing on healthy fats, so avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil, nuts and seeds, fatty fish like salmon and sardines and anchovies, getting an ample amount of fiber. Fiber is so closely regulated, obviously, from a blood sugar standpoint, cardiovascular standpoint, but also for our hormones too. So making sure you're getting enough fiber from fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and legumes. Love chia seeds and flax seeds and hemp hearts. I know you do too. But all of these are just so supportive to hormone balance. So whether you're in, working on fertility, or it's you're pregnant, or you're postpartum, or you're premenopausal, it doesn't matter the spectrum where you fall in that category. Blood sugar balance matters in all stages of life, and the more you can focus on that as a priority to your health, the more likely you're going to be able to have better control of managing the symptoms, the negative symptoms that come with those stages of life.
What are some of the foods aside from the like the processed carbs, like you mentioned, like the white sugar or the white flour, the white pasta, those types of things? What are some other types of food that people should avoid that they might not have thought about, like certain types of oils, those types of things?
Yeah, so there's a lot of inflammatory oils in our food system, and it can become a tricky topic because thinking of omega-6 rich oils, so think sunflower oil and safflower oil and soybean oil. All of these are everywhere in our food system, and although they are very inflammatory, our body still needs us to consume omega-6 fatty acids. So it's not that you need to be terrified avoiding these oils 100%. But most importantly, you want to focus on more of anti-inflammatory sources. So trying to replace those oils in your diet with extra virgin olive oil and avocado oil, which are monounsaturated fats, which are
Mhm.
anti-inflammatory fats. Replacing those more inflammatory fats with more anti-inflammatory fats is the goal. It's not to eliminate all inflammatory fats from our diet, because again, our body does need some level of those. And I think right now in the social media world out there, there's so much fear around so many ingredients, and sometimes we forget the big picture takeaways. It's okay to have a little bit of balance in our life. It's okay if there's sunflower oil in a product that also has all these other optimal ingredients in it. But if you can find one that is made with extra virgin olive oil or avocado oil, then sure, that's the more superior optimal choice. But we want to try to limit as many inflammatory foods as possible, and obviously refined grains, ultra processed foods, added sugars, inflammatory oils, as I just mentioned, trying
Mhm.
to limit those as much as possible so that we can promote our bodies to be in a state of anti-inflammatory symptoms and effects.
Is it ever too late for somebody to start? Because it's like the impact of inflammation on your body obviously can take a toll over decades and decades. But can anybody just decide, you know what, I'm gonna take all of Christina's advice. I'm gonna start now, or it's what, I'm 65. It's too late for me. Doesn't matter.
No, it is okay. Never too late. First of all, in our group program, We have numerous people in their 60s and even their 70s. I want to say we had someone in their 80s too participate in one of our more recent programs. And the effects that they get are just as good as somebody in their 30s or 40s or 50s. They wake up and they say, I am no longer in pain every day. I don't have this joint pain in my knees. I'm able to go on walks, or, my heartburn, my acid reflux, that's completely gone away. I'm sleeping so much better. It's never too late. I wish I remembered the details more of the study, but there was a study that came out in the last year that basically showed, the percentage of, if you make these dietary changes, like follow more of a Mediterranean style diet at the age of 50, it adds, roughly, and again, I'm making up the numbers, but it was along these lines, like it adds 15 years to your life. If you implement those changes at the age of 70, it adds 10 years to your life. Again, those are not the exact numbers. I don't remember the exact details of that research study, but ultimately the take home message was it's never too late, that even in your 70s or your 80s, making dietary changes promotes longevity, adds years to your life, adds quality to your life. I mean, one of my favorite topics in all of health and nutrition is the concept of the blue zones, if you're familiar with the blue zones.
No.
So these are the populations of centenarians, so people who live to 100 or older around the world. And the research is looking into these communities, what are they doing that makes them live so long? And there's a lot of things that they're doing, but obviously they have nutrition and being more plant forward, being more higher in protein, higher in healthy fats, higher in non-starchy vegetables, higher in fiber. All of those nutrition components that we teach in our programs that are blood sugar balancing, that type of diet exists naturally in these communities. But on top of their nutrition, they have all of these incredible lifestyle habits where their days are naturally active. They have all these wonderful communal practices where they're living with their parents, or there's multiple generations in one home, and they're meeting with their community multiple times a day. They're faith-based or individuals, people, communities that have a faith-based foundation to everything they do. They spend a lot of time together, so there's a communal aspect. There's a physical component, obviously, to their physical health, that they're active all the time. They eat really, really well, and these people are living happy, long, essentially disease-free lives. It's super fascinating. So love the Blue Zones research, but it just goes to show you that, it's never too late, and quality of life is attainable at all stages of life. You just have to be willing to make the commitment. Obviously, commit to the education, learn more, better yourself, get to know what your body needs. But yes, we have tons of clients who are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, but we also have a ton of clients, 60, 70, and even 80. So it's really never too late to make health changes, to focus on blood sugar balance, to improve the chronic conditions that you may have experienced.
That's amazing to hear. That's incredible. I'm going to talk to my parents about that. the
Yes,
um,
yes.
I want to talk a little bit about the mental health aspect around like the gut brain connection, because there was an article in 2018, so just about 5 years ago now, published by the National Library of Medicine, and it was about the influence of the microbiome on mood and mental health. And then there's also this meal delivery program called Sakara, which I've done in the past. I actually just had my husband do kind of a plant-based program to reset his gut, but they actually just had an article come out about 2 weeks ago, and there was a doctor quoted in it. She's also on their board. I believe her name is Dr. Shibani Sethi, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But she's the founding director of Stanford's metabolic psychiatry clinic. And she talks specifically about the notion of metabolic psychiatry, which I'd never actually heard that term before. But it really feels like people are just now catching on and starting to talk about, whether it's scientists, medical professionals, or the general population at large, talking about the impact on gut health and mental health. Can you talk a little bit, anecdotally about what you see in your clients, but also why are people just now starting to figure this out?
Yeah. So I love this topic. So actually, as part of one of our programs that we offer, so we obviously work with our VIP population, which is, a 6-month program, and then we do our 10-week group program as well. But after those programs end, we have this option called Sustain. It's pretty much like our alumni network, where you can continue working with your dietitian, and you continue to have access to a lot of our resources. And for certain of the programs that we offer, we do these monthly shared nutrition appointments where we have a topic that we cover, and we kind of invite that population back to listen to it. So I actually presented last month for May, because May being Mental Health Awareness Month. We chose the topic to be really the connection between mental health and nutrition. So I talked extensively about the field of nutritional psychiatry. So like this actual field in psychiatry that's super fast growing, and it uses food and supplements in the treatment of mental health conditions. And there's a ton of research that's going into that field, obviously, to learn what can we do, and what are these connections. And obviously gut health is a huge foundation. There's research that shows that people who have depression, and people who have dementia and Alzheimer's disease, that their gut looks very different than somebody without those conditions. So
Wow.
we know the gut plays a role in these conditions. It's multifaceted. It's not like fix your gut, you're going to fix your brain health. There's
Yeah.
obviously a lot of things that go into mental health and mental health conditions, but it's becoming more and more logical to make the connection. Well, the composition and the structure and the function of our brain is dependent on certain nutrients like
Mhm.
lipids and amino acids and vitamins and minerals. So it's logical to say the food we eat is going to impact the function of our brain. And we know the function of our brain is going to impact our mood. So it's really all so interconnected. And thinking about so much of our mental health really is fostered in our gut. So the gut's really considered the second brain in a sense when it comes to your central nervous system, because your gut microbiota are responsible for producing certain neurotransmitters, certain chemical substances that actually impact our cognition, our emotions, and so much. So there's such a big connection, and the field continues to do more and more research. I'm, by no means an expert on mental health. I wouldn't even obviously consider myself an expert on the gut microbiome, but I know enough in both categories to know that there is a clear connection between the two. And we see it in our clients all the time, that one of the biggest things, especially even our 10-week group program, where people come back and they say the way their emotional health and their neurological health symptoms they were experiencing before, whether it's brain fog or cognition issues, or if it's anxiety or worry, fear, all that, how those improve in the matter of 10 weeks because they've made diet and lifestyle changes, because they've addressed gut imbalances, because they've addressed micronutrient deficiencies. So we know there's a clear connection. It's very apparent to us, but what's really cool is that it's starting to obviously show up in the research, and you need the research there in order to really have the interventions in more of a conventional setting. And
Mhm.
so in the functional integrative world, we're like, yes, we know this, and we love to see more of the research back up what we already know, because the more research that comes out on these topics, the more mainstream and conventional these interventions, nutrition and lifestyle interventions, will be. So it's all very exciting topics, and fascinating topics too.
I found there was this, I mean, obviously, what you have given to me and the knowledge that I've taken on and have learned so much, the sense of freedom is like cannot be overstated. And like when you have a healthy relationship with food and understand what you need to eat to keep your gut balance, to keep your blood sugar balanced, to feel good, to not have the headaches, to not have the mood swing, to not have poor sleep. My God, the sleep element in this is huge. But it just, I never realized the element of freedom it would give me, and that it took all of that like agita about food out of my head. Like it doesn't exist anymore. And I have so much more time to focus on, like, I don't have to worry about what I'm going to eat. I know the right things to order at a restaurant. I know the right things to make for lunch very quickly, the rainbow salad, all of those types of things. But I just think that element's so critical. To think about practical tips, because one of the things that I follow is obviously the optimal plate method, which you guys have developed. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that looks like, and how people can take practical steps to just starting slow here?
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, whether you're focusing on improving cardiovascular health or blood sugar balance or weight loss or energy or mood, our Bible, our foundation is the optimal plate method. And really, the optimal plate method was designed to improve metabolic health, to improve mood, to support blood sugar balance, hormone balance, all that stuff. And really, it's just a simple approach to combining non-starchy vegetables with ample amounts of healthy protein, high quality protein with healthy fats and a controlled amount of whole food carbohydrate. So it's making sure that all those components that support our overall health, all these different systems in our body, are present at each of our meals and in the right quantities, right? Because, I remember early on in our sessions, talking about certain meals, and it's like, you could be eating, beans and rice and potatoes and squash and stuff, and all those foods are optimal, but it's a lot of whole food carbohydrate, and you're kind of lacking out on some of the healthy fats. Like, where's the avocado? Where is the extra virgin olive oil? Where are the nuts and seeds? You're lacking out on maybe some other high quality sources of protein. Where's the fatty fish? Where's maybe some pasture raised eggs? And then where are those non-starchy vegetables? Where are all those colorful pigments that give us so much fiber? Where's the spinach and the tomatoes and the cucumbers? So it's really finding that pattern of balance on your plate at every single meal. And you don't have to be at home in your kitchen to make an optimal plate, nor is it about being perfect all the time, but it's always working towards how can I get more fiber on my plate? So when I think fiber, I think obviously non-starchy vegetables, colorful, pigmented vegetables, nuts and seeds, whole food carbohydrates, legumes, some whole grains, berries. How can I get more fiber at every single meal to support my overall health? How can I get more high quality protein? So grass-fed beef, organic chicken, turkey, pasture-raised eggs, fish, also some tofu and tempeh and beans and legumes. And then, my mind shifts to healthy fats too. I want to make sure they're healthy fats, support my brain, support my hormones, avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil, nuts and seeds. So kind of always coming back to all those different components of the optimal plate and say, where can I improve? And it's never about being perfect. You don't have to be perfect in every single setting, but you have to kind of work towards finding that progress, that balance over perfection. And I think we see that a lot with our clients is you can step away and realize I don't have to be perfect all the time. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It makes it gives you that sense of freedom, right? And I remember you saying in one of our sessions that it's not second nature to me, it's just nature to me, right? And the more you practice this approach, the more you realize like this is real life. I can take this method, this approach with me everywhere, is when you get that sense of freedom that you don't have to be at home in your kitchen without any temptation around you.
Yeah.
You can bring the optimal plate method everywhere with you. So that's something, obviously, it's a primary educational tool in all of our programs. And it's something that I think everybody who leaves our program understands the benefits of why a simple approach, the basics of combining fiber, fat, protein with some whole food carbohydrate just works.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes, yes, yes. All the ways, yes. All right, just a few more questions. There's this thing going around on TikTok and Instagram, and it's been for a while. It's the vinegar trick, the apple cider vinegar, to have a tablespoon or a little bit of that mixed with some water, 8 ounces of water, and to have that before meals. And I know there's tons of research on it now, and it's becoming more and more popular. But where do you fall on the vinegar trick? Yay or nay?
So, having 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and 6 to 8 ounces of water or sparkling water before a meal can actually help improve the amount of glucose or impact the amount of glucose your body absorbs. So, vinegar contains acetic acid, and that helps your muscles be able to absorb glucose better. So, there is scientific research behind it. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of one of those little hacks that we share with our clients, we share with our communities of how can you reduce the impact of a higher carbohydrate meal or food on your body. So obviously, first and foremost, the best way to impact or have an effect on the impact of eating a carbohydrate and how it's going to impact your blood sugar is you want to pair that whole food carbohydrate with a source of protein, fat, and fiber. Because, when your stomach is full of protein, fat, and fiber, it makes it harder for your body to absorb and digest and pull in glucose into the bloodstream. Another thing you can do is obviously go on a walk, do some sort of physical activity that helps your muscles take up glucose.
Mm-hmm.
But research does support that, some apple cider vinegar mixed with water prior to a meal can help your body better absorb that glucose too. So it's not a complete fad, but at the end of the day, You cannot rely on vinegar to help you control your blood sugar day in and day out. It has to come down to the choices, the food choices you're making, throughout the day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a snack, as well as other lifestyle choices, managing your stress levels. All of this plays such a role in blood sugar balance. Apple cider vinegar can certainly help, but it's not the magic pill,
Yeah.
by any means, but it does certainly impact. It can have an impact on the amount of glucose your muscles are able to utilize.
Perfect. Thank you. So, okay.
Yeah, of course.
Sensitive question. The people don't like to talk about poop, but bowel movements are so incredibly important and so incredibly telling around what's going on in your system, because we're talking so much about what we're putting in our body. I also think it's important to talk about what's coming out of our body. So what are some of the warning signs of an imbalanced gut versus like what should people be looking for when it comes to a bowel movement? Because in the paperwork that we do together every single month, that's a very, prominent question, and people get all literally squeamish about it and don't want to talk about it, but it's a primary indicator of gut health.
Absolutely. So obviously, lots to be looking for. Having a bowel movement daily, having for some people even two, maybe even three a day is normal and can be healthy. But the consistency is clearly one of the most important things to pay attention to. So you don't want to necessarily be. You want to find obviously that perfect balance in between, diarrhea and constipation, essentially. So you don't want to have hard heavily infrequent stools. That's a sign that there's imbalances in your gut, or perhaps you're not drinking enough water, or there's not enough fiber in the diet, other micronutrients and vitamins and minerals that all impact digestion. But on
Mhm.
the opposite side, loose stools, watery stools, not a good sign either. So you want to kind of find that in between of like firm but soft serve is
Mhm.
kind of the consistency you're looking for, but frequency is so important as well. If you're not having a daily bowel movement, that should be a concern. We have to look into your diet, what's going on. We have to look at stressors into your life, what's going on. Looking into your gut health. I mean, we obviously run several tests that look deep into your gut health to give us a sign of there's some imbalances going on that are playing a role in your bowel movements. But yes, some people get very uptight about the topic and squeamish and don't want to talk about it. It's a normal question and a normal topic of conversation, obviously, in my field.
Yeah.
I think I shared this with you, but my husband was made some sort of comment about like, oh, let's order this stool for our living room, and like literally my mind just thought like stool,
Yeah.
I only think of bowel movements, I only think of digestion, and I was like, I had to like turn that off for a second and be like, oh, and now I know what you're talking about. So
Furniture.
definitely, yes, definitely a normal topic of conversation, and it's an important one. It's something that we ask a lot of questions about all the time, and that we obviously have plenty of tips and tricks as far as ways to regulate, help regulate your bowels. But it's multifaceted. It's not sometimes only diet. There are stress factors that go into it. There are the composition of your gut microbiome, and if you have overgrowth or imbalances going on. So a lot goes into the topic for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, so many people get freaked out about it, and it's like everybody poops. There's a book
Yeah.
written about it, you
Or,
know?
or when you find out that not everybody poops, that's more alarming to me. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Everybody should be pooping. And then when you
Yes.
find out people are like, no, once a week, once every couple weeks, and we're like, yeah, we
What?
gotta we gotta
Really?
work on that. Yeah, it happens. Yeah, there's a lot of people who do not have normal bowel movements, or the opposite, multiple a day, with inconsistent. So
Yes.
it's certainly something we address.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, okay, speaking of all of the things that you guys address, because you've got so many beautiful, wonderful programs, can you talk where people can find you, can find Being Bridget, and what are the types of programs that they'd have the option to enroll in?
Yeah, so our company website is beingfunctionalnutrition.com. Obviously, Bridget Tiggemeyer is the head of everything. She created this company several years back, and so you could also follow her at Being Bridget on Instagram. We also have the Being Bridget website too. Being Functional Nutrition and Being Bridget, they're obviously very interconnected. But Bridget has such an incredible audience, so we want to obviously we hold on to that, and we try to direct everybody towards our programs that are done through Being Functional Nutrition. So whether you look on Instagram for Being Functional Nutrition or Being Bridget, you'll be able to find us. We do a ton of different programs. Obviously, group programs. I alluded to our 10-week program, which is called My Food is Health. It's really 10 weeks of a ton of nutrition education through weekly nutrition modules, as well as weekly shared nutrition appointments that's led by our team of dietitians. So even though it's fostered very much so in a group setting, a weekly group setting that's virtual, it's very much so individualized. You're assigned to one dietitian, and she creates a personalized plan and approach for you for the course of that program. And then you obviously have the option to continue at the end of that program to continue to work one-on-one with your dietitian. And then we have our VIP program, which obviously you are familiar with. So VIP Next Level Nutrition. And it's really 6 months of one-on-one coaching. We have two different packages where you can meet with your dietitian once a month for 6 months, or you can meet with your dietitian twice a month for 6 months. And then at the end of that six months, you have the option to continue on with a couple different package options, and we call that program Sustain. Additionally, we run, on the topic of blood sugar, we run what's called a blood sugar reset about twice a year. We just wrapped up one in April, and our next one will likely be in November. And that's 10 days of low glycemic recipes. Again, fostered in a community setting. We have a Facebook group. We do daily lives where you're, getting education about a certain topic related to blood sugar. The recipes are amazing. It's incredible what the results people can get in just, 10 days, but even just the first couple days of the program. So we have the blood sugar reset, which we do live and, twice a year, but we also on our website, we have a ton of digital products that you could purchase. And one of those being our blood sugar reset bundle. So we've done 4 blood sugar resets. And each blood sugar reset consists of 10 days worth of recipes. So right now, if you head to our website, you could get 40 days worth of low glycemic blood sugar balancing recipes all in one place. So I know a lot of people love like having a meal plan, having a plan, and that's a great place to start. Obviously, there's customization that eventually you would need because those recipes are designed for 10 days and you can do them ongoing, but we'd still want to keep in mind that you always want that level of personalization and customization. So they are lower on the whole food carbohydrate side. So if you're an intense athlete or based off of a certain stage of your life, you may need more carbohydrate or even more protein or fat or fiber that the recipes have. So just wanted to share that too. But additionally, there's other guides and stuff that we sell on our website. We do a leaky gut course that you could sign up for as well. And let's see, did I miss anything? We also work with Levels. So Levels, the app that you can connect your CGM to, and we do some counseling. So we offer a Levels package too, which is 2 sessions with a dietitian with the focus of blood sugar balance and continuous glucose monitor education and all of that. So we offer a ton of exciting things. Really, just if you follow us on Instagram or head to our website, just lots of great content all the time.
And also the newsletters that come out, just the individual emails that come out are so helpful with so much amazing information. And just for people who don't know, Levels is that the blood glucose monitor that you see on the back of people's arms a lot of times. And it's not just for diabetics. Anybody can track their blood sugar and see. It's amazing what you learn to see what triggers it and what
Exactly.
doesn't. It's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Continuous glucose monitors really can provide so much knowledge. And again, that personalized component. So what
Yeah.
might impact you is going to have a different impact on somebody else. So it really helps you understand, what you're doing, what you're eating, your lifestyle, how it impacts your blood sugar. And the Levels app is really great as ways of kind of providing you information and helping you connect the dots. So, and I think I forgot to mention that our next My Food is Health group, so our 10-week program, the next one is in August. And we actually haven't started advertising it really at all on social media. And we're already at 30% capacity. So
Oh, wow.
if that interests you, please reach out. You can do a discovery call
Mhm.
with somebody on our team and get more information about our group program. And then our VIP program, we currently do have a wait list that's booking out a couple months. But we're making our way through it. So just want to encourage people, if you have more questions or want more information, just to reach out and we could get you the information that you need.
It literally has been like life changing. That's just the simplest way I can say it. All of the things that I was trying to do, and I feel like I'm a fairly smart person. I can figure these things out. I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know what was working. I didn't know why I was so tired, why I was so moody, why the weight was just piling on and not falling off. Like obviously stress was a trigger, but it turns out in some of our tests that we did, like cortisol wasn't super high, which completely surprised me. So it has just given me a sense of freedom and like control and just knowledge that literally I will be forever grateful for everything. And I had no idea there was a sustained program afterwards because I was like, how am I going to live without Christina?
Yes, no, it's an essential piece because usually at the end of 6 months, or 10 weeks, depending on what program you do, people aren't ready to say goodbye, not because they haven't, they don't have enough knowledge, but it's just, I want to continue, but with a certain level of support. So that's certainly
Yeah.
something we offer. But I mean, our goal is to help people change lives because we're not doing anything that's crazy complex. It's almost like bringing people back to the basics.
Yes.
What our society and our lifestyle has taken us away from. We want to be more like those blue zones. We need to slow down. We need to be simpler. The goal isn't always weight loss or to look perfect in your bikini. Really, the goal is longevity. It's to live long, live happy, live healthy, without pain, without all these negative symptoms. And it's really amazing that in just a matter of 10 weeks for some people, 6 months for other people, the changes you can make when you realize that you are in control. And a little bit of education, a little bit of support really helps you realize that.
Absolutely. I'm living proof of it. You are living proof of it. Bridget is, Jenna Kutcher is, where I discovered your program, all of it. So I cannot thank you enough for everything that you've done over the past 6 months for you and I, but also just having this amazing conversation. And I hope that people do reach out, if nothing else, to get the discovery call, sign up for the email, and just to start to incrementally learn, because getting back to the basics is something that is so critical for everyone. Like you said, it's never too late to start. So, but thank you so much for taking the time and sharing all of your amazing wisdom.
Yeah, it's truly been my pleasure.
Well, that's it. Another episode of What Nobody Tells Us. I hope you learned something. I hope you felt something. And I hope you feel empowered to go start a conversation with somebody who you know might be going through something that you don't understand. Lean in. Don't peace out. Thanks so much for spending some of your day with me today. I really, really love that you did that. If you want to reach out, if you got an idea for an episode, you just want to give me some feedback, or just say, hey, do so at Nobody Tells Us on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, or X, whatever we're calling it these days. No one knows. Reach out, Christy at nobodytellsus.com. Shoot me an email there, or visit my website, www.nobodytellsus.com. Until next time, see you later.